I want to hear cannons. Downfield, pull up, ball to the 5, touchdown Tampa Bay. Mike Evans does it again. Fire the cannons, Bucs.
It's first and goal. That's picked off. That's picked off. And who else? Rondé Barber. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may ride to the Super Bowl with that one.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up on the head. Intercepted. At the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And then the cannons come. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Hello and welcome back, Bucs fans, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host from BucsNation.com, Mr. Evan Wanish. 29-7 is your final score from the Buccaneers preseason opener against the Tampa Bay Tennessee Titans. Sorry, it's a late night, as you know, getting back into the swing of things here, but the first official, unofficial, however you want to look at it, the first Buccaneers game of the season, whether it counts or not, Evan, is officially in the books, and the Buccaneers emerge victorious. A lot of highlights that we're going to be covering here over the next 45 minutes or so. A lot to talk about, a lot to break down, and honestly, a lot of good things tonight from a couple of the rookies from this 2025 Buccaneer draft class. Excited to break it all down.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, not only from the draft class from this previous year, but guys that the Bucs have drafted, in the past, right? We're going to talk about, guys like Kyle Trask and stuff a little bit later, but I thought there was a couple of key players who you've been kind of looking for, and guys you would honestly hope would have success in some of these games here. I know the Titans played some of their starters. I don't believe they played all. I'm not 100% sure on the defensive side of things. I'm not sure exactly how many starters were in against the Bucs, seemingly backups. I know the Bucs started the game with Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka out there. I think it might have been 2 series, maybe. It might have been just 1 series for McMillan, and Egbuka might have been out there another series, though. So they were taken out quickly. So the Bucs backups were largely in this game, and I think you're looking for progress from some guys, and just how to see how your depth measures up here. So I think the Bucs got some answers there. Obviously, we have 2 more games, especially that Week 3 game, which the broadcast actually noted tonight that it's a good point. Since the Bucs play Buffalo in the regular season, which is a rarity, I don't think the NFL really likes to do that much, but it happened. I don't really expect many Bucs starters to be playing in that game either. So I think next week against Pittsburgh is really going to be it, I think, for your Bucs starters. These backups will get another shot, another legit shot in about 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens then. But overall, pretty strong first impression here.
Yeah, a couple of guys stepping up on both sides of the football tonight. Let's just start things off with the offense, who we saw early. And we'll start it off with the quarterback, Kyle Trask, a guy who really has been no stranger on this show for the last couple of weeks. We talked about not only his position in the quarterback room, but we even brought him up again on the most recent show when we talked about the addition of Teddy Bridgewater here in Tampa. But tonight, that first half was the Kyle Trask show. And I got to tell you, compared to what we have seen so far in camp, I think Kyle Trask needed a performance like this. I thought he had a good day in the office. 12 for 16, 129 yards, and he connected with Emeka Egbuka, his first NFL reception, a big 20-plus yarder over the middle of the field. Big highlight play for Emeka Egbuka in his first Buccaneers game. And again, I thought a solid first half performance for Kyle Trask, a guy that you would expect this from, but looked decisive with the football when he had time. A big thing with Kyle Trask, I would say tonight and even throughout camp as well, is some of the offensive line that he's playing behind isn't going to hold up as well as some of the starters would have. But for the most part, I thought Kyle played well tonight. He needed this.
Yeah, and I thought he did a pretty good job of avoiding pressure at times too. So we know he's not even. He's definitely not Lamar Jackson, but to me, he's not even Baker Mayfield, right? With making plays with your legs, making something out of nothing, but he did that at times tonight, and it didn't look like Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson out there, but you know what? He got the job done. There was a few times, there was one play he avoided some pressure, and then hit, I think it might have been Ryan Miller. And then there was a play later where he didn't avoid the pressure, still got hit, and still threw the ball to Ryan Miller. And it was pretty accurate. So that might have been his best ball the entire night. So, yeah, I thought he played really well. It's what you wanted to see, just like you said. And I do expect Teddy Bridgewater to be in there at some point next week. I didn't think the Bucs were going to throw him right in there when he's only been there a couple days. So I would expect him to play a little bit next week. So I'm curious to see. Okay, you're going to have Baker Mayfield in there. Let's say he plays, I don't know, maybe 2 series. Then you put Trask in. How long does Trask play before you pull him for Bridgewater? That's what I'm curious to see. And we'll see. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought Kyle Trask was pretty good tonight. There was the one time where he just held onto the ball a little bit too long, took a sack where he probably just should have dirted the ball or something. But it is what it is. And, that one play isn't going to take away from a solid night.
Yeah, Connor Bazelak, the other quarterback in the game for the Buccaneers tonight. He went 6 for 9, 48 yards. No touchdowns through the air, but we will talk about the run game here, sure enough. Ryan Miller, though, the name that you had dropped a little bit earlier, your leading receiver tonight for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6 receptions, 66 yards, and he was making plays. I thought he was one of the more consistent guys on the offensive side of the ball, at least in the receiver room for Tampa Bay tonight. And Ryan Miller, obviously no stranger to this Buccaneers lineup. He has started and played in some very critical games for this game, especially during for this team, especially during the 2024 season when they were missing both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin during that stretch of the year. But he stepped up. He was the Buccaneers' leading receiver tonight. Thoughts on Ryan Miller?
I thought he had a really good night. Made some tough catches. I mean, Kyle Trask made some difficult throws too. He zipped it in there a few times. But yeah, then he ends up leaving the game, evaluated for concussion, ends up coming back. Didn't really do much after he came back, but had a pretty strong night. And they're in a tough spot because he's probably not making the team, at least on the initial team, unless there's an injury, which we hope there isn't. He's probably not going to make it, but I also don't know if he's going to be a guy they're going to be able to keep. So I think they'll try. I think they're going to try to keep him on the practice squad. I just don't know if that's a guy they're going to be able to stash, ultimately. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, yeah, another strong night. And look, yeah, just like you said, he had some moments last year. I mean, he scored the game tying touchdown in Kansas City last year, late in that game. So he's had some moments in actual NFL game situations, and another strong night for him tonight. So I think they're in a tough spot with him. Regardless, though, good for him, to be able to show out there. And if it's not in Tampa, maybe he gets another opportunity somewhere else with a team that doesn't have as much wide receiver depth as the Bucs do.
Jalen McMillan was able to end up on the board tonight. One catch for 25 yards for the second-year wide receiver. We mentioned Emeka Egbuka in his first NFL game. 1 reception for 21 yards. Garrett Green, this one was interesting. The former quarterback, now turned wide receiver. 2 receptions for 22 yards. That's another guy with an interesting story. And I thought he made a couple of highlight plays tonight.
Yeah, he flashed a little bit. He's an interesting guy. Just like you said, obviously, former quarterback turned wide receiver, and those are always fun, right? When you get to watch them, it's doesn't feel natural, Yeah, I mean, like I said, he flashed a little bit tonight, and that's what you got to do in these preseason games, right? I mean, again, a guy who's definitely, assuming there's no major injuries here to the wide receiver room, he's not going to make the roster. But maybe he's a guy who you can stash in the practice squad, and then next year you can have him back in camp in the preseason and maybe make some more plays and eventually makes the roster. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, yeah, he was definitely an interesting player and a fun little, I wouldn't say gadget player, but just a guy who provided a little bit of a spark at times tonight.
It was honestly a pretty good night for the offensive side of the ball. I think if you were Josh Grizzard, you would take the results that they had every night of the week. Also considering it is the first preseason game that they're going to have, I thought things went particularly well. Let's talk about this run game, anchored by, again, a lot of these guys on the offensive line. You got to see a good bit of Elijah Klein. He lined up in multiple different positions, played a little bit of center. They kicked him over to guard, and then
center could have gone better.
Yeah, did have that bad snap. Got away from Kyle Trask, and he had to just kind of fall on it. It ended up being 3rd and a mile after that one. So tough to recover from. You would like to see less of those, but Jake Majors also had an opportunity to get in there. He lined up as a center later on in the game, played some snaps at guard, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk about the running backs here. Rachaad White started the game. Didn't look terrible. 6 carries for 28 yards, averaging 4.7 yards a tote. That's exactly what you would expect from a guy like him. Left the game with an apparent groin injury. And, this is why you're always so choosy with your starters and playing time in the preseason. You never want to see someone go down. You never want to see someone potentially miss extended action. But Rachaad White goes down early, leaves the game. Are we just being overly cautious here because it is the preseason and this is a starter on the offensive side of the ball we're talking about? We are kind of waiting for a concrete update on Rachaad White. Have yet to get one, of course. If we do, we will let you know before the show is over. But your thoughts on Rachaad White and how his night ended?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, I was a little bit surprised that he was out there. More surprised that he went out there, I think, for a second drive, because that's when he got injured. He got injured on the second drive. So I'm not really sure why he was out there. It just, in my opinion. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I tend to think it's probably more precautionary. I'm sure he probably, is feeling sore. Like, I'm not saying that he's not hurt. They faked an injury to get him out of the game, but I would think if this was a game where the Buccaneers needed it, he might be able to go, and I just think they looked at it and said, okay, like, let's chill. You're done for the night, this and that. So, I was surprised he was out there. I was even more surprised he came back. And really, we're just going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see this week. I think they practice probably on Monday, and then eventually during this week they'll go to Pittsburgh to do joint practice with the Steelers. So we'll see what the participation is like up there in Pittsburgh, and it's just a wait and see thing. Hopefully, if he's able to be back at practice, even in a limited capacity, that's a pretty good sign. But if he's not, well, hopefully it's not something that could potentially knock him out for week 1.
Got a good look at Sean Tucker in this running back room tonight. 13 carries for 50 yards, averaging 3.8 a tote. And he did find the end zone, got the Buccaneers on the board for their first touchdown of the 2025 campaign. Of course, Chase McLaughlin with a 45-yarder to get them on the board early, make it a 3-0 ball game. Sean Tucker, just good to see him. I think most people know the song and dance with Sean Tucker at this point. I'm excited to continue to see him get carries this preseason. I feel like this is where he's able to be in his element best, right? You don't have to worry about him getting ahead of steam for a drive and then getting swapped out the following drive. I think the preseason is where they really want to see what this guy is capable of. And, I don't think Rachaad White and his injury should linger into the regular season, but fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you got to do. God forbid it does. You want to make sure that Sean Tucker is healthy and capable as well. So these are going to be some important preseason reps for Sean Tucker.
Yeah, Todd Bowles had actually just said that Rachaad White's going to undergo some tests tomorrow. So that's the only update, right now. I thought Tucker looked good. I mean, like you said, these are sort of the games that are designed, I think, for a player like him, right? A guy who has shown some flashes in the NFL, and has had some success in the NFL, but just, for whatever reason, whether it's the depth in front of him, whether it's maybe he's not as successful, against the starters, he can't get on the field, can't stay on the field. I think Sean Tucker is an NFL back, and I think he proves that sort of every preseason. Like, he had a pretty strong preseason last year. Finds the end zone tonight and had a few pretty tough runs there. So, I think he's, obviously he's a lock to make the roster. He's definitely a lock. And I do kind of wonder if they maybe started Rachaad White because they only had 3 active running backs. So that's why I don't know if they sit White, you're only going to have 2 running backs active for the game. Like, I don't really know if they wanted to do that. So that might have been a reason why Rachaad White played. But regardless, Sean Tucker came in and got a pretty good run there.
Here's a name that I don't think many people had on their forecast before this one. That is your leading rusher for the evening, Owen Wright, number 49, which, got to be honest with you, Terrible running back number.
Yeah,
I know that.
If he makes a team, he can change it.
Yeah, but number 49 worked himself up for 18 carries, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown, averaging 4.8 yards a tote. Poor guy probably should have had 3 or 4 touchdowns. Had at least 2 touchdowns.
Two called back, yep.
Yeah, on the one drive. One of them was negated by a Jacob Harris holding penalty, and then the other one was negated by a O'Keefe holding penalty. So luckily, he was able to find the end zone and had an overall pretty productive night. There's not a ton to say about Owen Wright, and it's not to disrespect him as a player, but truthfully, injury aside, I don't think this is a guy that's going to make the roster, but it is really good for him to have a performance like this tonight because he was getting a big workload in the second half.
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good. I was pretty impressed with him, and he was a guy. Yeah, like I said, they signed
like 10 days ago.
Yeah, because the other running back, what's his name? Is it
Williams?
Josh Williams? Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, Williams. He's hurt right now. So, and he was a guy who Baker Mayfield really liked. He went out of his way a couple weeks ago to say like, yeah, that Williams guy's good. Yeah, I thought Owen Wright was really good tonight, and like you said, he should have had at least one more touchdown because you had to assume if the ones then the other one doesn't happen. But yeah, I felt bad for him after that second one. Whenever you hear the quick whistles like right after they score, I was like, after the second one, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, man, they did it again. And that's something the Bucs will probably want to clean up, right? A lot of penalties in the second half, which in these preseason games, the second half of a preseason game, that's not a surprising thing. But I thought Owen Wright was pretty good. Like you said, I think he might have an uphill battle to make this roster, but we were just talking about Rachaad White. If Rachaad White's injury is a little more serious, let's say it's not like, a 6-week injury, but let's say he might miss week 1. I could see Owen Wright making the team,
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're just going to have Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker as the only 2 running backs that are active. So you could see a path for a guy like Owen Wright. Now I'm curious to see a little bit more of him this preseason. Also curious to see if Josh Williams can get healthy and get on the field as well.
Yeah, you got to remember, too, that in the preseason this early on as well, you're not going to see the most advanced play calls from any of these coordinators, but pretty good night in the office for Josh Grizzard, his first night as Buccaneers play caller. The Bucs ran the ball 41 times for 178 yards, representing the club's most for both of those categories in a preseason game dating back to 2017. Let's talk about the defense here, and this is exciting because, to be honest with you, the defense tonight felt disruptive, and it felt disruptive in a way that it has really throughout all of training camp up until this point. I think that there is a lot of good to be taken away from not just some of these guys that we saw making plays in the secondary, but some of these inside linebackers as well. 3 takeaways on defense for the Buccaneers defense tonight, which is a great sign. You wanted to see production on the ground. You got it on the offensive side of the ball, but most importantly, Todd Bowles has been harping on hands on the football. We saw a lot of that tonight. 3 takeaways. Could have been 4 if Josh Hayes didn't drop that interception that he had earlier in that first half. But really, there were a lot of moments on the defensive side of the ball today that I think get you excited for really these rookies as well getting involved here throughout the regular season. Jacob Parrish made his presence felt tonight.
Yeah, I thought Parrish, was up and down. First drive makes the pass breakup. Second drive, they kind of started targeting him a little bit. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, he's going up against, at that point, the Titans had their starting offense in, and it's Calvin Ridley and it's Tyler Lockett. And yeah, those guys aren't like elite by any means, but they're NFL players, and this is a guy who was a 3rd-round pick playing in his first preseason game. So thought he got picked on a little bit there, but then he came back later in the game with another good pass breakup. So yeah, I thought he looked pretty good, and there's going to be some growing pains there, as there is with most rookies. So, I was pretty fine with that. But yeah, like you mentioned, 3 takeaways. I know that is going to make Todd Bowles very happy, and not just 3 takeaways, 1 for a score. So right at the end there, that's going to make Todd Bowles very happy, and I'm sure that's going to be something he's going to be discussing with his secondary this whole week about getting more hands on the football. I'm sure he might give Josh Hayes some crap about catching the football, because like you said, the Bucs very well could have had, and probably should have had 4. I mean, because it would have been a good catch, but it's one you probably should catch. it hit him. It hit him in both hands. He's probably got to catch that ball. Read it pretty good in cover two there, but just couldn't come down with it. But yeah, overall, I mean, I thought the defense was fine. I think you would like to see a little more penetration up front, a little more pass rush there, especially, when Cam Ward was in. Guys like, Anthony Nelson, Chris Braswell were out there. Those were the two notable ones that played.
Well, I thought, I thought Braswell especially, because if I'm not mistaken, we saw him a little bit into the third quarter as well. It seemed like on the defense, he played the most.
Yeah, I thought he was actually pretty decent run defense wise. That's where I noticed him the most, but unfortunately, like, that's not what the Bucs want him to be. That's not why they drafted him in the second round. So I mean, hey, if he's a good run defender, that's great. Like, but like they'd like to see a little more pass rush juice from him. So again, he's another guy who's going to get plenty of opportunities this preseason. I'm not sure how much Diaby or Hassan Rek are going to play. So I think Chris Braswell and Anthony Nelson are going to be like your de facto number one pass rushers this whole preseason, pretty much.
Yeah, and going to take note, too, into next week, who the starters will be on the defensive side of the ball to start that game in Pittsburgh. Tonight against the Titans, your Buccaneers starting defense was Anthony Nelson and Chris Braswell, both at outside linebacker. Greg Gaines, C.J. Brewer, and Adam Gotsis in interior defensive line. Gervasier Dennis and Deion Jones at linebacker. Josh Hayes and Josh Parrish at corner. And then Kayvon Merriweather and Christian Izien rounding things out at safety. Where do you want to go from here, my friend? There's a couple more guys that we can talk about later into the game. Nick Jackson at the linebacker position had a really good night and a very productive drive. Comes up big time for the sack, and then off of the deflection, the one-handed snag and interception to really turn the tables and make it Bucs ball once again. I think Nick Jackson is a guy that fans might want to start paying more attention to when you legitimately look at this linebacker depth here. He had a very strong night tonight.
Yeah, he led the team in total tackles. So I mean, obviously played a lot, but came up with a splash play there, and it was a beauty. It was really nice. But he's a guy who definitely could make the roster. It's like this team's like last linebacker, so that's somebody to keep an eye on. I thought Deion Jones looked okay tonight. Obviously, didn't play that much, but again, thought he looked okay. I think they're sort of banking on it, especially with Anthony Walker out. Like Deion Jones is probably a good chance to make the roster right now. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I thought Nick Jackson looked pretty good. I thought both Roberts on the defense. I thought JJ Roberts, the undrafted safety from Marshall, thought he looked pretty good. He actually contributed. He pretty much almost made the interception that Tyreek Funderburk had because Roberts played he played the ball pops up in the air. Tyreek Funderburk comes up with it. So that play doesn't happen without JJ Roberts, who has had a really good camp too.
Yeah.
I'm almost starting to think this guy's like a lock to make the roster. We'll see. There's still plenty of practice. There's still plenty of game. But I feel pretty strongly about his chances to make the roster. And then also really quick, Elijah Roberts, I thought made some plays as well. The Bucs' 5th round pick from SMU this past year.
Yeah, good to see Elijah Roberts get active there in the interior. Essentially your replacement for Will Golston, and then just another member of that 2025 draft class who can be a contributor this season. But yes, J.J. Roberts, I'm glad you brought his name up. Having a very strong camp. That Thursday joint practice against the Titans, there was a video making the rounds of just almost like an NFL streak kind of interception from J.J. Roberts. Just snags it right out of the breadbasket of the receiver from behind the guy. And, he makes that play like a defensive back who's been doing it for a very long time at an NFL level. So I think a lot of people are rightfully excited about where this guy is after a strong training camp. So, again, as we start to get down to the nitty-gritty here, he's going to be a name to pay attention to. Listen, while we talk about the secondary, I do want to mention the fan favorite, Shiloh Sanders. He, did have a couple of big hits tonight, was able to get after the quarterback and applied some pressure. The NFL clipped it. It ended up on Twitter, and people loved it. Everybody celebrated. Yeah. With J.J. Roberts having the, I guess, the breakout few weeks that he has, this is going to be interesting to see who's going to take up those final few safety spots on the roster here. But what did you think of Shiloh tonight?
I thought he looked fine. I mean, like I said, he was basically a free runner on that one, and he made the impact. He impacted the throw, so
Yeah.
didn't get the sack, but impacted the throw. And I mean, that's all you're looking for right now. And I mean, I guess I never, to be honest, like never really expected Shiloh Sanders to be likely to make the 53. Always felt like if he was going to make it, it was going to be on the practice squad. So especially with JJ Roberts playing the way he is, they already have Antoine Jr., Christian Izzy, and Tyke Smith. Like they already have those guys up at the top. I, I'm not sure that Shiloh's gonna make it. But like I said, I think JJ Roberts has been of like those fringe guys. JJ Roberts definitely been the best one, I think. So, not saying Shiloh's been bad, and he didn't play bad tonight, but I think he's facing an uphill battle right now in order to make the Bucks 53. But still think he can be a useful practice squad guy here and there. And we'll see. Like again, he's got two more opportunities here to make some plays. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Did want to highlight, and because I know we're going over a lot of the positives and stuff, and there wasn't many negatives. I mean, they won 29 to 7, and not really much. Jacob Harris, though, wide
Yeah.
receiver, the veteran wide receiver, actually did not have the best night. Gets called for the hold to negate the Owen Wright touchdown late earlier in the game, fumbled the ball. Titans recovered it. So he had two catches for 8 yards, ended up with a carry for 5 yards. Not his best night. And again, like as a wide receiver in this room, you're going to be facing a massive uphill battle to make the 53 anyway. So definitely, I think a night that Jacob Harris will probably want to forget. But yeah, I mean that's really the one performance that stood out to me. I thought some of the offensive linemen were a little iffy, but at the same time, if they're in the game in the regular season, you're kind of screwed anyway.
Yeah.
But
I know we mentioned it briefly a little earlier, but I just wanted I want to round it back out because we're talking about some of the disappointments in this game. Truthfully, I thought that for as much as Chris Braswell stayed in the game, we would have seen a little bit more. And I know that that's been a topic, not necessarily of contention, but we have brought it up on the show within the last couple of weeks, especially now with the absence of David Walker, his rookie season over due to the torn ACL. There's a lot of pressure on Chris Braswell to step up and perform. You've got your Hassan Reddicks. I guess you've got your Anthony Nelson, but you're going to be banking on the development of Yaya Diaby. You're going to be banking on Kalijah Kancey to stay healthy and be a factor on this defensive line, which I think he can. He just has to stay healthy. But Chris Braswell, as you had mentioned before, he's a second-round draft pick. And I think that at some point this season, maybe even this preseason would be more ideal. I'd like to see him show up and just start affecting the quarterback a little more. I don't think he did that too many times tonight.
sort of felt like, and this is gonna hurt to say, but sort of felt like the last days of like Noah Spence kind of.
Oh.
I'm not saying that Chris Braswell is in danger of is like not making the roster because he's not. Like, sorry, if any Bucks fan that doesn't want Braswell to make the roster, he's going to. Like he just is. And he's probably gonna play a decent bit for the Bucks in 2025. So like that's just what the deal is. Whether you think he should or not, that's a different story, but he's going to. But like it kind of because I remember that Spence the one time almost played like it was still when they were doing 4 preseason games. And I think he played in the 4th preseason game. I think he played like 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
And they were like that. I was like, this is not a good sign. Like they need to see more of this guy. Like that's not good. Sometimes when it's a player like you don't really expect and he's playing later than you think, that's not a great sign at all. So like if Braswell, and I don't quite remember if he did play in the 3rd quarter, but if he did, shows you that the Bucks want to see some more from him. Like they weren't quite satisfied with his first half, and they want him to go back out there. So we'll see what happens. But you are right. I think that the Bucks are, they didn't put all their chips in the Chris Braswell basket, but they got some in there. I mean, investing a 2nd round pick in a guy, just a year ago and didn't really play a whole lot. in 2024, especially when a 4-man pass rush was an issue. It wasn't like the team was just stacked with pass rushers and there was no room for Chris Braswell. No, there was definitely an opportunity. He just didn't quite take it. So I'm curious to see how much he plays over the next 2 games. And hopefully, yeah, he can make some plays, get his confidence up at this point, at this point, be able to build that confidence and start playing some good ball because, yeah, the Bucs are going to need him. If this defense is going to be successful, they're going to need their top 4 guys, basically. Like, they're going to need Diaby, Reddick, Braswell, and Nelson to be productive, along with, like you said, on the interior, Kalijah Kancey staying healthy and being productive. So, they're going to need that, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, not the best early results for Chris Braswell there.
Yeah, and there's obviously still plenty of time. You have the rest of the season. As you had said, I think the Bucs are a better team this year, especially with their outside linebacker situation. They're a better team with him on the roster. Let's not pretend that, he's not going to make the team all of a sudden. I think they are a better team with him on the roster, and it will stay that way, which is perfectly fine. With that being said, Evan, we can't end the show without a little bit of controversy. And I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on, but
I think I know what this is.
Listen, and the people know that we are big uniform snobs on this show. I don't know if Evan is quite as much as I am, but the Bucs have made a change. And I need an explanation. The people need an explanation. Okay, so, couple of notes here. This screenshot from NFL Fashion Advice, fashion_NFL, a great follow if you are not familiar. It looks like the Buccaneers have made some changes to their helmet. And not for the better, okay? We didn't really get a clear-cut reason as to why. This is just kind of one of those things where you turn the game on your TV and you're looking closer and you're like, something's different. I can't put my finger on it. I can't quite tell what it is, but something is different. And I can tell you, my friend, that yes, something is different. The Buccaneers shrunk the flag logo on the helmet, and now we have suspicion that there is no longer a metal flake effect in their pewter paint on the helmet. Now, so the working theory is that they have changed the shell altogether. This is the most concrete photo evidence that we have. You can see the new helmet on the left and the older one on the right. Now, I think the angle is tough here because with the flag being smaller, its position on the helmet is going to look a little more angled. But man, oh man, I don't know if they're just falling behind in the equipment department and they didn't hit their curfews. But if this is a change that they think that they're just going to roll out and people aren't going to notice, I mean, this is #Flaggate, my friend. This is the most important news of the night. I don't care about what happened in the preseason game. I want to know what the hell happened to our uniforms and why for the 50th season they want to mess it up. Really quickly before your answer here, Evan, we got a $2 super chat from Mr. Bucs Nation, James Hill. He says, "We're back, baby. Does Evan hate Chris Braswell?" Yeah, that's a strong question here.
Hate's a strong word.
Yeah.
Hate is a strong word. No,
what? No. We don't
You
hate
can
anybody
ask me
on
in
this show.
You can ask me in like 4 months, maybe. But no, I don't. I can't honestly. I can't tell you the last player that I like hate, even like in sports overall. Like I don't know, Ben Simmons, maybe. Like that might be it.
Maybe Sean. I think the only person or entity that we've actively hated here on the show so much that I had to go back and censor you, Evan, was Sean Hockley after that divisional round game against the Rams in 2022.
Wow. When the quarterback's lip is bleeding, I think that means that there should be roughing the passer, and there wasn't for some reason, and I just thought I should voice my displeasure. That was,
You certainly did. I think we're lucky that we still have a show at this point.
Yeah. Well, no, I just wouldn't be here. I'm lucky to be here still. So
you got
now everybody that isn't like a long time listener is gonna be so confused. But yeah, I mean, so the helmets before the change, right?
Yeah.
I feel, obviously That was the big thing when they changed them in 2014, right? How big the flag was. That was like one of like the things on it.
It was like cartoonishly oversized at
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Like and honestly feels like they have shrunk it a little bit over the years.
When
I
they
don't know. It just
Yeah.
it feels like it wasn't as big like the past few years as it was when they first debuted them.
No, when they 100% 2020. So when they went back to the OG pewter
Yeah.
power look with Brady here, they shrunk it 100%.
Yeah.
It was still a little bit oversized compared to like the old pewter shells, but
Mhm.
they shrunk it down for sure.
Well, and they went to a black face mask where the
Yeah.
2014 ones, it was the chrome. It
Yeah.
was that chrome face mask was the original thing.
Gross.
So they went to the black face mask. That was good, right? I like the black face mask more, but I honestly maybe have more of an issue not with the flag, and I think the only reason why people think it looks smaller, people are thinking like, oh my god, it's so small. I think it's because people have gotten accustomed to how big the flag is on the helmet.
Yeah.
I think that's why. I think it probably is normal, but by NFL standards. And if you look at like pre 2014, like it might be close to what it was like originally. Um, but it's that sort of like you mentioned that chrome aspect of it. Like I saw like there was a
Like the
video
metal
of like
flake,
of
yeah.
like yeah of like them in the tunnel and the helmet almost looked like matte, like
Yeah.
it almost looked like the Atlanta Falcons ones. And I don't mind matte helmets. I really don't. But I also think that if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it.
Yeah.
So the Bucks helmets weren't broke, and I feel like you're making a change just to say, hey, we got to change here. And I don't know, maybe they'll face enough backlash to where, week one they're rolling out the a thing that is just the flag
Yeah.
covers the entire helmet and the entire thing is just completely chrome. So maybe we'll see that.
I think it's going to be one of those events that goes down in history and just isn't ever mentioned again. Now, I don't want to say I pride myself on being a uniform guy, but like all of my football friends, all my coworkers that I talk to, like I tell everybody, listen, I am a uniform snob. Okay, I pay attention to that stuff. I don't know what it is, but I like it. I like paying attention to it. I like cool uniforms. I like when stuff looks cool. And I remember that when we talk about the 2014 Buccaneers uniform overhaul, one of the things that I remember most with those updated helmets was not only the oversized logo, not only the chrome face mask, but do you remember, and I think it was for like 2014 and maybe 2015, and then that was it because they stopped doing it, but they never addressed it. They had 2 black stripes on the helmet. If you go back and you look in 2014, when they first did the uniform redesign, I'll try and find a picture of it. When they first did the uniform redesign, they had 2 black stripes going down the center of the helmet. And then they just stopped. Hold on. Buccaneers uniform 2014 black stripes helmet. We're going to do some live Googling here. This is the power of the internet. Stand by, folks. We appreciate you, by the way. Well over 100 people in here for our first post-game live stream of the 2025 season. Getting through the preseason, the Buccaneers victorious 29-7 over the Tennessee Titans as they kick things off in their home stadium. I can't find a good angle. They're cheating me on the angles here. Oh, you're kidding me.
I will believe you. It's all right.
I know you do.
I'll take your word for it.
I'm gonna show you. Hold on, I got it here. I got it.
Really quick in the chat. Let's do while we wait here. Let's do comment your favorite Bucks uniform combo of all time and your least favorite Bucks uniform combo of all time. Kind of want to see something because look, they're celebrating 50 years. Let's do a little throwback thing here. So comment in the chat your favorite Bucks uniform combination of all time and your least favorite.
My favorite, absolutely.
I have my least favorite.
My favorite, absolutely, is the they call it the triple mismatch, but it's the combo the Bucks wore tonight. I love the pewter helmet,
Nice.
the red jersey, the white pants. I think that is the cleanest look we have.
I'm about to kick James out.
He's infecting our chat with brain rot. We don't need this stuff, James.
The worst one for me is white alarm clock jerseys, white alarm clock pants, orange socks.
Oh God, they only did it a select few times, but those orange socks were absolutely terrible.
I honestly, and I don't know, like, I think they only did it in like 2014. Like, I don't know if Jameis ever wore that. Like, but thank God.
Yeah. Here it is. Here it is. I found it. I found it. All right. It's a watermarked photo, but we got it. Maybe you can pull it up here and see. Let's cut our scene over. Hopefully you guys can see here. This is the best image I could find, but you've got your chrome face mask, your oversized logo here, and then these nasty, they almost look spray painted on. Like they're not even a strong stripe effect. They just look like someone took a can of spray paint, sprayed them down because they stop about halfway through the helmet. But this is them, 100%. This is them, and they're awful. I needed to prove to somebody that these existed. I can't find.
Hey, there's also the People's Champ on there. So there he is.
Yeah, there sure is.
Sporting the alarm clocks. That's funny. That is funny.
All right, that's enough.
I think this is the most time we spent on a helmet before.
I think I'm ashamed to admit it, but I think we spent more time talking about the helmets than we did probably the game tonight.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I don't know. We're getting our priorities in order. Football is back, folks. We have got a Buccaneers game done and under our belt for the start of the 2025 season. And the countdown is on until next weekend. The Buccaneers going to travel up to Pittsburgh, play some more of the starters. Do you think we'll see Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to play at all, or has he just reached the point where it's like, you know what you're getting?
We'll see. I mean, I think with the joint practices, it does lower the chances because, like, Rodgers is going to be able to go up against the Bucs defense anyway. Like, it just obviously it won't be in game situation, but like he's going to be able to basically scrimmage against them anyway. So I always think whenever those joint practices happen, that's going to limit. I think if the Bucs weren't playing the Bills week 3, I'm not sure how much the Bucs would be playing their starters next week.
Yeah. But
I think the fact that they're playing the Bills, I don't think they're going to want to give the Bills sort of even though it's later in the year, I don't think they're going to want to give the Bills anything, and look, these playbooks are very vanilla. Like it's not, you're not calling stuff that you're going to call in the regular season most likely, but I think the Bucs would prefer to, to be able to rest their guys, maybe not show the Bills all their cards. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Well, he didn't play it all. I don't think he played it all last preseason, right? Because he was still rehabbing the injury. So I don't think he played last preseason at all. That'd be interesting to see. I'm curious to see if that does happen. But regardless, we do know that the Bucs, for at least to start the game, will be playing majority, I would say, of their starters. I think they're gonna get most of those guys out there.
Going to be looking forward to it, hoping to get to the other side of the preseason healthy, of course, and make sure that everyone is ready to go for week 1. 29-7, your final score once again from week 1 of the NFL preseason. The Buccaneers take down the Titans in front of their hometown fans. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. It's late, man.
Sounds like a local high school.
I know, right?
Saturday Night Lights.
Yeah. Pretty much. Listen, some of these preseason games, by the end of the fourth quarter, it feels like a high school game.
Thank God. Like, the one thing I do like, and I thought this during the game, the one thing I do like about the preseason games, to me, it goes by quicker than a regular season game because there's more running plays.
Yeah.
Like, you run the ball a lot more in the preseason than you do in the regular season, so the clock just goes.
Yeah.
The only thing that can stop it is, like, penalties, and, like, towards the end, we were getting some penalties, but, yeah, the clock just, for the most part, goes.
Yeah, I want to commend everybody's effort to just kind of get out of there and run this thing out there by the end of the fourth quarter. So, thank you guys for hanging out with us over on YouTube. Appreciate everybody in the live chat. Once again, like I said, we had well over 100 people in here tonight for our first post-game show back for the 2025 season. We really do appreciate you guys. Rodney Savage, Bill Camporis, our good friend Dub, the moderator, and the super chat, Mr. Pucks Nation. Appreciate you, man. Matt Diaz, Hillsboro 813. It's Edwin Escobar, Starry Cranberry. Anybody else that I may have missed?
I mean, and also, like, really quick, two can play that game, right? We can go into each other's streams and start throwing out accusations. I don't have a comment, right, on my whereabouts with Aaron, but I won't comment on that because you know what, James, that's none of your business. That is a and B situation, so see yourself out of it. That's all that is. So, but if we want to start that game, we can definitely start stirring the pot over on Mr. Bucks Nation's live streams.
Well, I think what's important to remember too, James, here is the situation where Evan comes out on the other side with enlightenment. He a new sense of understanding, a new sense
something that James will never have.
Right. So James, maybe you should reach out, look into some of those ayahuasca retreats.
He actually just admitted it. He just admitted he was just jealous.
Right. Yeah. James is jealous. He missed out. James is a guy that strikes me as someone who definitely needs an ayahuasca retreat one of these days. I think we'll have to take a look at his schedule one of these off seasons and ship him out for 5 or 6 weeks.
We're gonna do a live stream. We're gonna live stream the whole thing. 24-hour live stream, 5 weeks.
We'll put him in the
jungle. Hitting cameras everywhere.
Yeah, we'll put him in the isolation chamber. That'll be awesome. He'll come out on the other side a brand new NFL quarterback. All right. Thank you guys once again for hanging out with us. Shout out to everybody in the chat tonight. Shout out to Mr. Bucks Nation once again for the super chat. You can follow our show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Of course, the best place to go for updates on the show. And of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. You can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucks_Daily. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL and check out his written work at BucksNation.com. You got anything in the hopper?
Yeah, so going to be looking at, again, we have a game to discuss. So going to be looking at who I thought was the most impressive, who stood out to me in this game. And then also going to be doing, and I think I'm going to incorporate this into the regular season as well, like sort of 3 burning questions after this game. So 3, one of them might be, what's Rachaad White's status? How much will the starters play? We'll see what I decide on. So stay tuned to BucksNation.com for that. And then also, all the other writers that we have over there doing all the stuff to get you caught up on what transpired in the game in case you missed it. But also in case you missed it, there'll be videos out here on Cannon Fire Podcast. Maybe talking about the game, maybe not. I don't know. It's preseason. Probably not going to be reviewing much of a preseason game. But during the regular season, we will be returning all of our videos. So doing, the top performers, players to watch for the upcoming game, and betting the Bucks. I did see somebody in the chat mention earlier that they went a couple of overs. I think Trask or somebody else hit a couple of their overs for them. So they said they're going to be printing paper. And if you want to print paper, I suggest watching Betting the Bucks because we were actually on the winning side last year in total. So
if your props loaded for you tonight on your respective sportsbook app, then I literally a tip of the cap to you, because about 7 or 8 minutes before kickoff, I opened up my Hard Rock app to go put in some over-unders. Obviously I'm not going to bet on the score or anything like that because what the hell. But, I'm not that much of a degenerate, but I will bet on prop bets, and nothing was loading for me.
Well, so, how would you feel if, because I think they mentioned this during the game, was that like the start of the fourth quarter or right at the end of the third? They were like, go ahead.
We got an official update here from Greg Allman. This puts an end to our dilemma that we had talked about earlier. And you know what? I may potentially be able to just pull this up on the screen here for our beautiful viewers. He says, right here, where is it at? Lots of you asking tonight about the smaller logos on the Buccaneers helmets. I am told that they were a 1-game trial.
Oh, that's a trial didn't work.
And that players will be wearing the regular helmets next week. So, crisis averted. I think that this 1-game trial.
There we go.
This 1-game trial was all they needed to make the entire fan base recoil in fear over just a smaller helmet logo. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I thought we had an update on Rachaad White and.
Oh yeah. No helmets. No. The more. Yeah. The important stuff.
Yep. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm looking forward to your content. Folks, you can find myself on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Last but not least, please check out the Rondé Barber Show. I have the honor and privilege of producing that show with the fine folks over at WFLA from the Stream Center, and we have a lot of fun. We have an episode coming up this Wednesday with the Pro Football Hall of Famer himself, and I believe
somebody who obviously watched the game.
Yeah, somebody who was able to. Yeah, somebody who was able to watch.
He
the
was
game,
able to catch
luckily.
the game. He was able to catch.
Yeah, he caught a few minutes. I don't know if I'm actually allowed to say who our guest is this week. But
All right, let's not then.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. But please check that out. WFLA YouTube channel and all podcast platforms at The Rondé Barber Show.
Oh, really quick. We are continuing our positional group previews on the show here. So just dropped the running backs one, I believe. Going to be dropping wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, defensive line, and all the other positions on defense as well. So stay tuned for those over the next 2 weeks or so. Periodically, we'll be sending them out. As James with one more 99-cent super chat. Thank you very much. You're helping with the Wendy's fund.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is good. I'd rather you give us your money rather than you give Hard Rock Bet your money and you just lose it all because you don't know what you're doing on those sites. So.
You're talking to just James, not
just James.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to anybody else in the chat. I'm not talking to you. Just James.
Or what? We're one.
I was gonna say his middle name, but I won't. James Hill.
We're one preseason game back, and you're already taking shots at the audience. So
I need a vlog from Wendy's. As soon as I see a vlog from you in the forest, I'll do a vlog from Wendy's. So
you just did a whole Gus Swayze performance. That gets you enough brownie points in my book, James.
How about this? How about be in the forest as Gus Swayze?
Yeah.
While also,
you want to heal
getting some stuff that's not, that's a little natural,
Listen, I got some natural medicine. It'll heal that knee right up, buddy. It'll get you out there for week 1. That's the show. I think it is late enough now. I got natural
medicine too. It's called beer.
Yeah. We are so far off of where we were to end the show.
Hey, still 120 people watching, so we appreciate it.
I know. Clearly, it's entertaining enough. But thank you again, folks, for hanging out with us. We truly appreciate you. We will see you later on this week with some more Tampa Bay Buccaneers news and updates. Looking forward to next weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We will catch you in the next one. Until then, and as always, thank you for listening, and go Bucs.